Morning. We're live.
Perfect. So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for the fifth part in our Fix That Home Repair series workshop on electrical safety. My name is Jen Tremin, and I am with the Atlanta Beltline Partnership. We are the nonprofit entity for the Atlanta Beltline. So the Fix That series is part of our Home Empower workshop series, where we work with partners to deliver informational workshops to help renters and homeowners feel more secure in their home. The Fix That series, we are partnering with the Atlanta Community Tool Bank, Atlanta Land Trust, and House Proud to bring this 8-part series to help teach you some basic home repairs and skills, not only to save some money, but to be safer inside of your home. So I'm thrilled tonight to be welcoming Brian Hogue with us to teach us all about electrical safety and some repairs that you can do yourself. We will hear from him in just a little bit after we hear from our partners, and he has prepared a wonderful video for us to watch. So after the video, you will be able to ask any of your questions live with Brian. Just make sure you type those into the chat box or in the comment section if you're joining us on Facebook Live, and we'll get to as many as possible. So with that, I want to turn it over to Adrienne with the Atlanta Land Trust to give her intro, and then we'll pass it over to Lisa with House Proud, and then off to CJ before we hear from Brian.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Adrienne Malden. I am the intern with Atlanta Land Trust. Atlanta Land Trust is a nonprofit that is committed to providing affordable housing within the city of Atlanta along the Atlanta Beltline and within close proximity. I would like to invite you guys to our community buyer information session, November 14th. I am going to post that information in the chat as well with my manager's contact information, and we look forward to seeing you all there.
All right. I guess that means it's my turn. Hello, everyone. My name is Lisa Flowers Jones. I'm the Executive Director of House Proud Atlanta. We are a small nonprofit located in Southwest Atlanta, and we provide no-cost repairs for seniors, the disabled, and veteran homeowners, anything that will keep them warm, safe, and dry. So think roofing, plumbing, electrical, floor stabilization, anything that's going to allow them to age in place and be a really wonderful and vibrant part of the community for as long as possible. Right now, we have funding for veterans and for folks that live on Atlanta's west side, and for seniors that live in neighborhood planning units V. So if you know anything about NPUV, it's the area right around the old Turner Field. So think Summerhill, Peoplestown, Mechanicsville, Adair Park, Pittsburgh, those areas that are right in the heartbeat of Atlanta in the downtown area. If you're interested in learning more, if you have a senior neighbor or friend that lives in any of those areas or who's a veteran, feel free to shoot us an email. You can find our contact information on our website, which is houseproudatlanta.org. We're honored to be a part of this series, and thank you guys for listening.
Hey everyone, my name is CJ Clark and I'm with the Atlanta Community Tool Bank, and I am facility manager, and I have managed the Tool Training Center, which is why we're here tonight. I mean, the Tool Training Center is a program that does things like this, where we can work through nonprofits for education around tools, and we also can offer some education for youth, at-risk youth in particular. Our member agencies sometimes will learn things through us at the Tool Training Center, and I'm very happy that we can be part of this series. And I am very happy that I've been able to introduce Brian, who's going to be the presenter tonight. He's been very special at the Tool Bank, and he has good stuff for us. So can't wait to hear it.
Great, thank you, partners. So Brian, feel free to say a few words and then just let me know and we can start your wonderful video.
Thanks, Jen, and welcome everybody to our series tonight. I'm honored to be part of here. Again, my name is Brian Hogue. I'm from Ball Ground. I am a construction superintendent as well as an electrician. I think if any topic in construction, electrical is my favorite and is the one to have an extensive amount of knowledge on. So to be a homeowner or a renter, this one is a great topic to know. And just the most important thing I can say before we get started with the video is the best tool to have in your toolkit for electrical is knowledge. So get ready to watch this video. It is a little bit fast paced. It's about 25 minutes long, and it is packed full of wonderful information for y'all that I am so excited to share. Jen, whenever you're ready.
Great. So let's get this video going.
Hello and welcome. My name is Brian, and I will be your expert for this guide to residential electrical. I'm a 28-year-old construction superintendent and electrician from Ball Ground. I have over 15 years residential electrical experience given to me by my family business, Lots Electric from Woodstock, where I continue my practice and maintain my training. Tonight, you will be reviewing the components of your electrical system, common sense safety tips, and 5 repairs that you can do safely. There's a lot to discover, so let's get started. Understanding the components of your residential electrical system will make you a better prepared homeowner or tenant. The National Electrical Code, NEC for short, dictates the requirements of your electrical system. Let's talk about power. Power will be sent from one last transformer through a service line or feeder, top wire in this example, down and into the meter. This service line or feeder can either be overhead or underground. Under any circumstances, do not tamper or mess with these items. If you see anything wrong or strange, please call your local power company to get it repaired immediately. But let's go inside. From your meter, power travels down to your electrical panel, where it is distributed along branch circuits known as home runs to your end devices, such as appliances, light fixtures, cell phone chargers. Speaking of devices, I brought a few I'd like to show you. This first one is a single pole switch used for switching the light at one location. This next one is a 3-way switch, used for switching lights at multiple locations, such as hallways, large common rooms. This third one is a duplex receptacle, also known as an outlet. NEC requires that residents must use a tamper-resistant or TR-style outlet. This prevents children or someone from sticking something in the outlet and getting seriously hurt. This fourth device is a ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI for short. It detects for water or shorts within the wiring or later down the circuit and shuts off instantly. The NEC requires this device must be used within 6 feet of a sink, wet location, or outdoors. Another variation of this is an arc fault circuit interrupter, AFCI for short. It checks for arcs and sparks. It's used to protect lights and outlets in family rooms, bedrooms, storage rooms, common areas. The last 2 devices I have are breakers. They can be GFCI, standard, AFCI, or a combination. Ultimately, the breaker will prevent a circuit from shorting out or overloading by instantly shutting off or tripping. The number on the breaker is the maximum amps allowed to go through the device before it trips. It can either be a single pole or a double pole. Lastly, this is the electrical panel, the central point of all your power within your home. All your power will either be 120 or 240 volts based on the needs of the appliance. Now that you know about your system, let's protect it. I get asked a lot, Brian, aren't you afraid of getting shocked? And the answer is absolutely. Even experienced electricians will have some fear over electrical. It's how we show respect to it. Electricity doesn't care who you are, how many friends you have, or your social status on Facebook. It will seriously hurt or kill you. At the construction company I work for, Choke Construction, we pride ourselves in a safety culture called One Life. It's your life, it's your legacy, let's protect it. The best way to protect your home is to get to know your home. So here's 8 easy ways you can do that. Number 1, go through and test your GFCIs. To do this, you're going to press the test button until it clicks. Wait about 3 seconds, and then press the reset button until it clicks. If it fails to do any of these, the device must be replaced. Remember, a GFCI is a life-saving device. If it's not tripping, it's not protecting. 2, go through and check to see what all your light switches do. 3, check for damaged cords. If the ground pin is missing, or if the cord itself is damaged, it must be repaired. Please remove the cord or appliance from service. Let's hang on to this and I'll show you how to put a new plug on it in just a minute. 4. Go through and change all your light bulbs to LEDs. It might cost you a little bit now, but it's going to save you hundreds on your electricity bill later. 5. Go through and check all your switches and outlets to see if they are damaged or loose. If it can wobble, baby wobble, it will need to be tightened up and repaired. We'll get to that in just a moment, but for now, let's head down to the panel. Number 6, get to know your panel. Make sure there's no open gaps in your panel. If there is, get yourself up a blank panel space from Home Depot. It merely snaps in and protects from anyone sticking their hand and getting seriously hurt inside the panel. Also, make sure your panel is properly labeled. A properly labeled panel will be a guide to working on it in the future. With a partner, turn on all the lights and small appliances in your home and turn off only one circuit at a time. If you turn off more than one circuit at a time, you will get confused. Once you turn off that circuit, identify what's on it, write it down, then move on to the next circuit. Number 7, what to do with a tripping breaker. A breaker only trips for 2 reasons. It's either overloaded or it's shorting out. Let's start with the first theory. To check to see if a breaker is overloaded, use the back of your first 2 fingers and press it against the tripping breaker. If it is warm, remove some appliances and relocate them to different circuits. Let the breaker cool, turn it back on. If the breaker continues to instantly trip, you have a short. Turn off all the lights and unplug all the appliances. Try the breaker. If it continues to trip, you have a short in the wiring of your home. Please call a licensed electrical contracting company. If the breaker holds, turn on all your lights. If the lights hold, then start by going one at a time with your appliances until the faulty appliance is identified. Remove that appliance from service. Number 8, I highly recommend an electrical testing kit to keep at the house. This is a non-contact voltage detector. This will let you know if power is present at a device. To test, remove the plate around the device and then check around the sides of the device. If power is present, it will blink red and it will chirp. No power, it'll stay green and continue to be quiet. The next item is a receptacle tester. This will let you know if power is present, as well as if the outlet is properly installed. A properly installed outlet will have 2 yellow lights. If only 1 yellow light or a red light is present, your outlet is installed incorrectly. Turn off the circuit, remove, and reinstall the outlet. If the problem persists, call a licensed electrical contractor to repair the circuit. I want to give you one last bonus safety tip now that we're coming into fall. Electric space heaters. Between 2011 and 2015, the National Fire Prevention Association determined that 85% of home heating fire deaths were a result from space heaters. Before you use your space heater, make sure the cord is all right, there is no damage to the unit. Keep a clear space around it at all times so it can breathe through the air. Keep children and pets away from it, and remove any combustibles such as chemicals, cardboard, clothing, dry timber. Be safe. Be smart. Protect yourself and your loved ones. Before we start, let's get the proper tools and equipment. I bought all this at the Home Depot on Ponce de Leon for less than $55. This is a basic starter pack to get you to do electrical. We have an electrical testing kit, wire strippers, flashlight, 6-in-1 screwdriver, black tape, tan wire connectors, a switch with a plate, an outlet with a plate, and a plug. Now that we have what we need, let's get to work. Let's start off by fixing that cord that we mentioned earlier that was damaged. To repair a cord, you'll have to cut all the way back to where the damage is no longer present. From there, go back about 1 inch and just gently cut around the edges of the wire. Once you've cut through just the outer jacket only, give it a little bit of a twist and pull. This might take a couple of tries, and a couple of times you'll have to redo. Once you've got the jacket removed, separate your wires and strip about a ½ inch. And then go through and make a nice clean twist. Next, let's grab our plug. The plug is color coded. The black will go to the brass, white will go to the silver, and the green will go to green. So loosen up all your screws, and then give your wires a twist to make a hook. And you'll hook them around each screw and tighten it up with your screwdriver. We'll come right back once I've screwed all this in. Now that I've got everything screwed in, a handy tip to know is you want to hook the wire in the same direction as the rotation of the screw. This will give a better grip from the screw to the wire to the plate. From here, you will close the cover. Get it nice and flat. You'll avoid the screw hole. Close the top half and screw it down. And there you have it. You're good to go. Let's move on to our second repair. Remember that switch from earlier? It's got a broken plate. It's all wobbly. This switch will need to be replaced or repaired. So start off by making sure the circuit is turned off at the panel. Once the circuit is turned off, go ahead and remove the plate. Once the plate is removed, take out your non-contact voltage detector and check for power down the sides. We're all clear. Let's move on. Next, we're going to take the device out of the wall. Once the device is removed, you'll find you'll have 3 wires, a ground, a hot, and another hot. One of these will be going to the light, the other one is your power coming in. Start off by removing your ground. Next, we're going to remove our 2 other wires. If they're wrapped around the screw, just unscrew it and pull it out just like we did the ground. If they're stabbed into the device, you can either cut them or strip them back 3/8 of an inch, or just twist the device continuously. And you'll see one of them has already popped out. And if that doesn't work, cut it and restrip it 3/8 of an inch. Now that we're re-prepped, let's install the new switch. Here we have a brand new toggle switch. These are directional. One side will say top on the switch. Start by stabbing in the 2 wires on the back of the switch. Since these are 14-2, these can do that. On a 12-2 wire, they will have to be wrapped around the screw. You'll just wrap it around and tighten the screw down. Now it doesn't matter which way these are installed. Since this is just a simple on-off switch, each of these 2 wires can go to each of these 2 screws. The ground will always go to the green screw. Now that our ground is installed and the switch is in order, line up your switch to where it will say top, and then push the switch into position. From here, let's screw it in. Tighten up the switch to where it is stable and no longer moves. If the switch still wobbles, press in your 2 fins, as we call dog earing. These will help push the switch back further into the wall and tighten it up. Now that it's nice and tight, let's put our plate on. Now that the plate is on, turn on the breaker and test the switch. Now that the circuit is turned back on, let's try the switch. Great job! Let's move on to our next repair. Let's move on to our third repair. I'm going to teach you how to replace an outlet. Look at this one here. It's been marked all up and we can't tell if this thing is in proper working order. So let's change it out. Start off by turning the circuit off at the panel. We've already done that prior to this. But let's make sure just to be safe by using our receptacle tester. No lights. No power is present. We're good to work. Next, let's remove the plate and the outlet. This outlet only has 3 wires in it: the ground, the neutral, and the hot. So, this tells me this is a dead end switch. Because the wires are stabbed into the outlet, let's cut them out. For the ground, you just stick it through the hole and put a new hook on it. That will go to the green screw on the outlet. Tighten it down. While we're at it, let's go ahead and tighten the other ones down since we don't need them. Now we're going to cut about 3/8 of an inch off the wires. We'll strip 3/8 of an inch. Again, black will go to brass. And the white will go to the silver. Now we've got it wired up, we're going to tuck our wires and screw it into the box. Once the device is tight, you can put the plate on. If you can't get the device to tighten up, you can do what's called dog earing. Take these upper fins and push them back. This will allow you to press against the box on the inside and give you a stronger grip. And then double check. Now let's put the plate on. Let's turn the circuit on and try it out. Now the circuit's turned on, let's try it with our receptacle tester. 2 yellow lights. Great job. Let's move on to our next repair. The fourth thing we're going to do is we're going to change a light fixture. The light fixture above me is original to the 80s, is dilapidated and damaged, and will need replaced. So let's put in a brand new LED. Start off by turning off the switch and turning the circuit off to the light. The next thing we're going to do is remove the glass and the bulb, as while we're removing this fixture, these could fall and potentially injure somebody. The next thing we'll do is we're going to test, just in case, to make sure there's no power present. We're clear. To remove the light, you'll either have 2 screws inside the light, or you'll have caps, like this one. Remove the caps or the screws. As the light comes down, untwist the wire nuts, and then throw the light and the wire nuts away. We'll put new ones on. The next thing we're going to do is remove the old bracket. Now let's check out that new light. The next step we're going to do is get everything out of the box, unwrap it, and identify everything. Once everything is laid out, find the bracket and prep it per the instruction manual. Once the bracket is prepped, you will install it into the box by mounting the screws through the elongated holes. Let's go ahead and get that up there. As you tighten the bracket, make sure the bracket is centered over the box and cannot wiggle or wobble. Now, let's go ahead and hook up the light. Most light fixtures will come pre-stripped and color-coded. Black to black, white to white. The green will wrap around the screw on the bracket and tighten to the bracket. Start with your ground wire first, so it has something for the light fixture to hold on to. Then finish the wiring. Once your wires are done, you're going to fold them, tuck them into the box, and then clip the light fixture through the holes onto the screws that are protruding out. And let's put the cover on. Once the cover is in place, turn on the circuit and test the light. Now let's turn it on. Great job! Let's move on to the next one. For the final repair, we're going to learn how to balance a fan. The fan above me has a little bit of a wobble, so let's fix that. We're going to start off by turning off the fan and letting it come to a rest. Once the fan has come to a rest, we're going to move the globe. That way we can get to the screws on the blades. Now that the fan has come to a slight rest, we're going to remove the globe. Once the globe is removed, take a Phillips head screwdriver and tighten up the blades on the fan. Once the blades are retightened, reinstall the globe. Now that the globe is reinstalled, we're going to get ourselves a blade balancing kit. You can pick this up for $2.26 at Home Depot. Inside the kit, you will find 2 weights and a clip. We're going to start off by using the clip. So we are going to pick a fan blade and put the clip near the outside of the blade and then turn the fan on. That didn't work, so let's try another blade. Now let's turn the fan back on. Much better. This blade seems to be the one to do the trick. So let's turn the fan back off, and we're going to let it come back to a rest. Once we come back to the blade, let's go ahead and wipe it down with a damp cloth. While you're at it, go ahead and wipe down the rest of your blades. Dust accumulation will hinder the performance of your ceiling fan, so this is just some preventative maintenance. Once the blade is wiped down, you may remove the clip, grab a weight, Peel the sticker off the back and stick it on to the end of the blade. From there, you can turn the fan back on. If there's still a little bit more of a wobble, simply find another blade using the clip and install the second weight. For us, this did the trick. Great work! Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this guide and that you feel more comfortable with your electrical system. I want to give thanks to the Atlanta Beltline Partnership for hosting this event, Toolbank Atlanta for the recommendation, and Lots Electric and Cho Construction for their support and community involvement in safety. If you have any questions, please stick around, and I look forward to helping you fix that in just a moment.
Great. Thank you for that wonderful video. I'm sorry it was a little jerky. I never quite know how my internet will get along with Zoom each day. But that was some great information. So please type in your questions for Brian in the chat, and we will get him to answer all your burning questions. I will start off with our friend CJ, who has a question for you, Brian. So she's in an older home that fuses, but there is a new panel and they have 4 circuits that almost all of the equipment is on. What should they do?
So repeat that question. They went from a fuse panel to a new panel.
Yes. So it went to use that fuses to a new panel, but they have 4 circuits that almost all of their equipment is on.
Ooh, so what I would do if most of their equipment is just on 4 circuits, I would calculate how much that load is with all that equipment and what kind of equipment is it. Is it heaters? Is it ceiling fans, outlets? Is it all the kitchen is on one circuit? Once you figure out how much load is with on your 4 circuits, from there, I would call an electrician to maybe add a couple new circuits if your panel has space for it. Because new circuits can be added. There might be some sheetrock to patch, but that allows the current existing circuits to free up. Since you can't just put in a bigger breaker because the wire in the walls would not be rated for it, which could lead to a fire hazard, adding a circuit would be the way to go. Or if you can, if it's just small minor appliances, rearrange those appliances to different circuits.
Great. So I'll put this in the chat, but I will definitely send out the recording and the video tomorrow, so it'll be less jerky, and that way you guys can go back and reference some of the helpful tips that Brian was suggesting. But please do enter any of your questions for him into the chat. Let's see. So, would you recommend a refrigerator to be on the same breaker circuit as other 2 outlets in your kitchen? And is it not supposed to be on a GFCI?
So it doesn't hurt being on a GFCI because all that's going to do is protect the equipment. As it being on other outlets, that's actually typical practice for back in older homes. My fridge is also on the same circuit as my microwave and my stove, which probably may not be the best thing to do, but it doesn't hurt. Fridges nowadays are pulling less and less power. You can find a bigger fridge that only pulls maybe about 6 or 7 amps. And most kitchen circuits are rated for 20 amps. So since it's not going to take more than 50% of the load, you can still have an outlet or 2 within it. So just the rest of the outlets I would recommend being on a GFCI circuit because they're probably going to be closer to your kitchen sink.
Great. So keep typing in those questions. So this one says, what is an outlet with a fuse and how to properly install it? Would that be the same as a GFCI?
So an outlet with a fuse is a little bit different from a GFCI because the fuse in most cases aren't resettable. A GFCI, if it trips, you can just unplug everything and reset the circuit. A fuse, once it blows, you'll have to replace that fuse. And the fuse may not catch everything that a GFCI would. The GFCI has a microchip in it that is monitoring the electricity going throughout the circuit. So it can detect like if appliance falls into water and things like that. Even if it doesn't have much power, it may not have to have full electricity to it, but it'll detect like if your ground touches your neutral, because you can also have power coming across your white wire. Because the black wire will send out power, the white wire returns it. So that's the GFCI is monitoring all three. So it's not exactly the same as a GFCI. My recommendation would be to replace those outlets with fuses with GFCIs, just because since they can reset, they are more reliable and then they're easier to work with.
Would the installation for that be similar to what you're showing, or would that be something to call an electrician for?
It takes a little bit more advanced knowledge, but I'm glad you asked. I actually have a GFCI sitting here on my desk just in case. And I figured that question was going to come up. It installs similar to an outlet. The biggest thing to know, though, is that you can't exactly cross the wires. You have to know which two are coming in and which two are coming out. So like if you have an existing GFI that you can tell is bad and you can replace it, that's a lot easier because it's already identified on the back of the device what is your line versus what is your load. In electrical, your line is your power coming into that circuit. Your load is everything being detected. So if you're going to try to do it yourself, you would have to remove the outlet and put wire nuts on all the wires. Then this is where it gets a little more tricky. You have to turn the circuit on and use your non-contact voltage detector, and it will tell you which set of wires is the power coming in. Once that's identified, then you can shut the circuit back off and take those wires you've identified and put them on the line side. Everything else goes to the load side. And then that way it's properly wired and it will protect everything else down the circuit.
Great. All right, so we have a couple other questions coming in. So some outlets only have 2 slots while others have 2 slots with a round hole. Do you think that means that the 2-slot outlets are old and should be upgraded?
It is always recommended to go ahead and upgrade your outlets, which is an excellent question. A lot of those older outlets, since back in those days, 1920s, a ground was not required. So that's why you don't see that third hole, where nowadays it is required. Because like I was saying, with how wire works, your black wire is sending wire out, power out, your white wire is bringing it in, but that third hole is known as your equipment ground. That's what's protecting the frame of your devices, vacuums, anything with a metal equipment. That's what that third hole is protecting. So in case the wire jimmies up inside the device, it just grounds it out on the frame and protects you. Like if sometimes you'll grab something, you'll get a static shock, that ground helps protect that. So I absolutely would agree, change the outlets out, but depending on how many wires are in that, you may not have a ground wire in there. So you may not get that equipment ground in it. So you'll have to be careful with that. So you can still change the device out just to plug it in. But there is some ways that you can do it, but I prefer an electrician to come out and analyze it to see what you can do with it.
All righty.
But just replacing the outlet never hurts.
Sounds like it. Okay, so we have a question from our friend Lisa. So she says, if she gets an upgraded panel, does she have to get arc fault breakers? Is that code now?
Yes, excellent question. So because you're going to have to get an upgraded panel, it's going to have to be on a permit with your local jurisdiction. Arc faults are going to be code required because, again, it's a protection and it's a life-saving device. Arc faults originally came about because of oil radiators. When they would fall and tip over, they would have a little bit sparks in them. And it also would cause fires in a house. So the NFPA, which is actually made by the fire department, came up with the idea of coming out with arc faults. And because it can detect those micro sparks and everything, it can detect a radiator falling over and possible fires, they are making that code required for almost everything now. So it gets a little more expensive and they are a lot more sensitive, but code required.
Yeah, well, nothing you can do about that. So in an older home around the 1920s, what are the dangers of keeping circuits that don't have a ground wire and simply installing a GFCI outlets on them, or GFI outlets?
Oh, well, it's not much of a danger converting it to a GFCI, but it does make it harder for the GFCI to do its job because it doesn't have the ground. So it can't detect between the white and the bare copper. It'll still protect from a direct short. where black meets the white, something like that, something falls in, you'll still have some protection, but it won't be a complete protection without that ground wire in there. But there's no danger in swapping it out to a GFCI. In fact, I recommend it. Again, life-saving device.
Well, that's important. So back to changing outlets, would it be the same process that you've been mentioning to do something that has a USB plug-in?
Absolutely. It's the same process, a normal outlet. It's just the device itself is going to be a little bulkier, kind of like a GFCI. It's going to have more of a block look to it, but it doesn't you don't have to worry about line and load. You just have to keep the black to brass, white to silver, and green to ground. But they're very easy to work with, and they're getting very popular. I recommend them. They're nice. Because we all get those the little block chargers when we go to grab our cord and forget the charger.
Yep, many times.
I do it.
Too much to remember these days. Why remember your charger? Okay, so back to some older home questions. This person has an older home with some plugs that were changed out, which are not grounded. However, someone changed and added as if a 3-prong. Do they still make the older plug without the 3-prong, or is it just a plug with a sticker available? And if there's any dangers using that?
So there's no dangers in converting from a 2-prong to a 3-prong. It acts just the same. It works just the same. If you have a 3-prong now, I don't recommend going backward. I think they still make them. They're a lot harder to get nowadays. It's not more of just a common shelf item because code really doesn't allow that type of no more. You can't just get a standard 2-prong outlet. You might get it on like an extension cord for like lamps or something like that, but I never recommend going backward. Stay with the 3-prong just because you have more adaptabilities for equipment is what I would recommend. And then they do have some devices where you can just plug it in and it acts like a self-standing GFCI if you're concerned about protection on it. They're made from Husky, they're black, and they're about like $15, but I wouldn't go back to going to a 2-prong.
Great. So that was our last question, but type in any others while we have just a couple of minutes left. And while you're getting those last thoughts out there for Brian, I just want to invite everyone to join us on November 18th for our next session. We will be learning from Kitty about some preventative home safety. And then after that, we'll be learning about some heating and air on December 2nd and following up our series about winterizing your home on December 14th. So really good information coming up in the next few weeks. Okay, so another question in here to talk more about the self GFCI device you were just mentioning. What's it called and where to buy it?
So that's an excellent question. They are a shelf item at Home Depot. There's 2 different versions. There's one where you just plug it into an outlet and it gives you 1 outlet, or there's one version where you plug it in, and this is what we use in construction. It's got a GFCI built in it, and then you have 3 outlets on the back side of it. But every Home Depot, Lowe's has it. I think Walmart might, but I haven't checked too much. But definitely Lowe's, Home Depot, your common hardware store should have them. They're about $15 to $20. Like I said, Husky makes them. And you'll find them in the extension cord aisle is where they're always at, is in the extension cord aisle. And it'll just be a plug-in GFCI is what we call them.
Perfect. Okay, so another question, someone wanting to run a new circuit in their home. How would you recommend learning how to do this?
If you're trying to learn how to do this, take your time and research depending on what the circuit needs. What are you using the circuit for? If it's going to be like just a simple dedicated circuit for a deep freezer in the garage, you can just run that on a 14 gauge wire with a 15 amp breaker. Or if you're going to need a little bit more power, you would have to use, it's a yellow wire called 12-2, and you can run that with a 20 amp breaker is what that's rated for. You always want to find clear paths where the wire cannot be just open and free air. You're not allowed to lay wires just open and exposed. You can't just stick them on the bottoms of 2x4s if there's no sheetrock out. You have to keep them protected, or you have to put sleeves on them, which a lot of customers don't like that if you can't put in the sheetrock because it gets ugly and now you got pipes and stuff running everywhere. But you can do that, but I would prefer calling an electrician based on what's the need of the circuit you're pulling.
Always handy to call an electrician if you're not sure. It would be my.
That's what we're here for. You know, I believe you'll be passing out my contact information. If y'all ever have questions, please give me a shout out. That's what I'm here for, is to help y'all out and give y'all advice. I've got one last piece of advice that's a simple one, if you don't mind, Jen, is a simple equation. And it's going to be A equals W over V. So this is an equation based on Ohm's law, and this is how you calculate how much power your device is using. So your A is your amps, and then you have your W, which is the watts of the device, and V is for volts. So that's the common equation. You'll look at like a space heater, for example. It'll say 100 on this UL sticker at the bottom or on the side. It can say, all right, well, it's serial number, model number, 120V, and it'll say 1200W. So what that means is that's how many watts which is pulling it. You take that 1200 and you divide it over 120 volts, and that's going to give you your answer. That's a 10 amp device. So you base that on, oh, that's going to be on a 15 amp rated circuit, a 20 amp rated circuit, and that way you know how to place some of your appliances around. It's just a simple calculation. It's simple math, but that one equation can really help you solve and know your home. Getting to know your home is the most important tool, because if you're just going to start plugging things everywhere and who knows what you've got, you could damage your home. So get to know it, and that's how you protect it.
Well, that is a very hopeful note to end on. I found this all very informative and great, and you're getting some much love in the chat, agreeing with me. So we will send out a non-jerky version of the video tomorrow for you guys to refer back to, as well as Brian's contact information. So please let me know if you did not get my previous emails. My email is jennifer@atlblp.org, and we'll make sure you get on that distribution list. And please just, everyone, again, thank Brian for his time and great information. I really appreciated it and learned a lot, and I hope everyone has a great evening and takes care.
Well, it's definitely been an honor to be here. So thank you, Jen, and thank you to the Beltline for hosting this event. Of course, thank you to Tool Bank and House Proud for all their love and support of the community. And I believe that's why we're here. Without our community, who are we? You know, we love our community. So thank you all very much for the invite. And I look forward to being any other help I can.
Of course. Thank you, Brian. Good night, everyone.